and welcome to the Meat Around the World show. Today out of Chiapas, the southernmost state here in Mexico. And we're at some very cool cascades, some waterfalls. They're called El Cheflon. Don't even know how to pronounce it.
We'll write the name.
Yeah, and we've just been for a long walk, and we're very hungry. So
What's on today's show?
On today's show, we're taking you to Hidalgo. It's a state here in Mexico, north of Mexico City. And we're going to climb up some big boulder and monolith. We are going to show you some amazing hot pools. And we are going to a pasties museum, Cornish pasties.
Yes, you heard that right. Cornish pasty is a thing here in Hidalgo. And we will explain why and show you our take on how to make a Cornish pasty right here on the Meat Around the World show.
So let's cut to the meat. Okay, it's all about the meat, as you know. We got some ground beef here, from Angus beef, actually. We found a butcher here in town, in nearby town. It was called Angus Carniceria. So yeah, and I asked the guys, is this all, all they did was beef. So I asked them, is it Angus? Is it? Absolutely. So we got some 90-10 ground beef here, 90 being the meat to 10 the fat ratio. And we're going to sear that up in the pan on the grill in just a minute. But
I think we best tell our non-British viewers, first of all, what a Cornish pasty is.
Absolutely. And I'm going to chop up these vegetables here. You know, B-roll.
Yeah, we best tell you what a Cornish pasty is and why you can find them here in Hidalgo. Basically, a Cornish pasty is like a meat pie, which has come from Cornwall in southwest England. And the reason why you can find them in Hidalgo is because in the early 1800s, the miners came over to Mexico to share their skills, looking for silver.
Yep.
And obviously they brought their traditional recipe of the Cornish pasty along with them too. And
they did.
Not only did they bring that, but they brought their love of football. They introduced football to the Mexicans. So fun fact for you there. All because of those Cornish miners. So in Hidalgo, Cornish pasties really are everywhere. In fast food joints, in bakeries, and we even went to a museum all about it. We learned about their history, and we got to make one ourselves.
We did,
Which
yeah.
was amazingly very authentic coming from a British. I was very, very proud and astounded.
But here on the Meat Around the World show, of course, we turn things a little bit. We give it our spin, and we put a lot more meat and a lot less starch. Double starch, kind of, carbohydrates in it.
Yeah, in England, Cornish pasty, the traditional ingredient is swede or turnip, used with potato basically, and a few onions and a little bit of meat. But we are, as Richie said, we're going to sort of reverse all of that and put more meat in, some carrots as you can see, some onions, some peppers, because that's what we found at the market yesterday.
And potato.
And potato.
Yeah.
Just one.
But if you're into that kind of double starch diet, come to Mexico. That's the place to be. They put beans in tacos and, corn, beans, and, flour, everything. And a little bit of meat, so if that's your thing. It
is no wonder they welcomed the Cornish pasty, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's funny, it's kind of similar. It's, meat pies to a taco,
like
right?
a taco.
All right, let's sear up the meat and roll out the dough and cook it all up. Bit of oil in the pan. And fry up this minced meat real good so we get this Maillard effect, a little bit of browning in the meat, and that adds to the flavor of our Cornish pasties. Once the meat has been seared nicely and browned, oh, look at it, beautiful. We can throw in all the vegetables and Yeah. Give it a toss. Got some beef stock here. Add a bit of pepper. We have enough salt from the beef stock and in the dough. Adding a teensy bit of Worcestershire sauce. Gonna add a little bit of flour. Not much, a little bit. Even a Mexican twist with a splash of tequila. Here we go. Siete leguas, only the best. Añejo. Beautiful. Oh, that smells nice. Beautiful. Let this simmer for a while and roll out the dough.
To make the pastry, rub a lot of butter into the flour and salt and then add some cold water to form a ball and chill for at least an hour.
Go, and we are taking you to Hidalgo.
On our way to Hidalgo, we drove through the state of Querétaro. The city looked huge and very modern, but we were on our way to Bernal, where the world's third largest monolith, the Peña de Bernal, stands, and we were about to climb it. We were impressed with our little Zoe in that she had walked up all by herself. The views were just spectacular, but we couldn't stay long. The rain clouds were pushing in and we needed to descend as fast as we could. We made it just in time. As we arrived at our campsite for the night at the foot of the Peña de Bernal rock, the heavens opened. We cozied up and settled in for the night with a well-deserved spaghetti bolognese. We'd heard so much about the famous Tolantongo Grutas and hotpools in Hidalgo and made that our next stop. But amongst all the swimming gear vendors along the route, we spotted a microbrewery called Pan Americana. Of course, Richie had to go in and say hi. Tolantongo offers two sites to go and soak in. The Gloria, which has a few pools and grottos, lies on the western side, and the larger and more touristy Grutas de Tolantonga on the east. You can only reach both by walking over the bridge that connects the two. Driving from one to the other, however, would take a good 2 hours. We started off with the harder to get to La Gloria. She'd gone hunting for
Crazy road.
It was Arity. It was their mummy. Mummy, said Sarah. Oh, wait. So we'll take this one now. The switchbacks down to the hotpools were a ride in itself, with some 3-point turns happening at the edge of the cliff. But we loved to go off the beaten path, and it was all worth it. We were able to camp on their parking lot for 2 nights and hit those pools at a leisurely pace. And boy, were they special. We had a lot of fun during those 2 days, but it was Friday and the weekend crowd was rolling in. We couldn't face the crowds we were expecting on the other side, so we took a little detour and drove to Ishmikilpan. Here we stocked up on fruit and meat. And Richie and Zoe's favourite snack, chicharron. Chicharron is fried up pork skin and is perfect for those long drives.
Okay.
They even sold beef chicharron. Unlike the pork version, which is by the way very popular in Mexico, this beef chicharron which Richie is sampling is basically cow skin fried in its own lard. And at the car park, a friendly vendor pimped up our silver skin with some more chrome. We spent the weekend at the nearby Eco Alberto Park, the Grand Canyon, where we grilled some delicious steaks and experienced a lot of heavy thunderstorms, which seemed to have brought in a lot of rubbish with it. A very big shame. But that aside, the rest of the surroundings were very beautiful and we enjoyed many walks along the rickety-rackety bridges of the Rio. You can also zigzag across the river on a zip line. Zip lining seems to be a very popular adventure sport in Mexico. We've seen it a lot so far. What a thrill! The weekend at the Grand Canyon was beautiful and very peaceful, but we wanted to go back to Tolantongo to check out the more developed and touristy side of this hot pool extravaganza. You can camp down by the river, but to get to the fancy pools, it is quite a climb back up the hill. But don't despair, because there are plenty of pools to choose from on the way. And for the ride down, another zip line. This is in the week, and the crowds are certainly here, but we can see why. Just check out these spectacular views and the maze of pools that have been chiselled into the mountains. We were in awe of the design and craftsmanship that has taken place here. Absolutely breathtaking. This place is huge, and if the pools are not enough, you can even soak into some natural caverns where the hot water pours right out of the mountain. Tolantongo is a must when travelling through Mexico, but whether you opt for the lesser touristy La Gloria or the more developed Grutas de Tolantongo, we'll leave that up to you. We're certainly glad we did both.
So let's try these, huh?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Dutch oven.
Up for you. It's going to be hot, okay?
Oh, they're beautiful. Oh.
We were nibbling on a bit of mixture before we put them in the Dutch oven.
Just how I like them.
And it was
Enough
lovely.
meat.
It's really hot.
Not only
Really,
potato
really hot.
and dough. Oh, beautiful. Nice.
Okay,
Really
I'm
good.
just
Turned
gonna
out well.
Eat it English style. No cutlery. Pastry's not bad either.
Beautiful. Yeah, so Hidalgo was a hit. Well, apart from the weather, it rained a lot, but it's the rainy season, so that was to be expected. Yeah, but we had fun in those hot pools in Tolantongo, and it's a beautiful area, absolutely. So if you're ever in Mexico, don't skip Hidalgo.
No, those hot pools were really the most amazing.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah,
Never seen anything
such
alike.
beauty. Yeah, be careful, Zoe.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, but because of the rain, we will be going south and hitting Mexico City, the pyramids.
Pyramids, yeah. Teotihuacan. And then we make our way south through Puebla. Yeah, to Oaxaca. And in Puebla, we checked out the Popo, the volcanoes. Yeah, and now we're already in Chiapas. And yeah, so what's the news?
Well, we said we wouldn't do it.
And we did it again.
We did it again. We have got a visa extension.
Yeah. So 2 days ago, we went to the Guatemalan border and just to the Mexican side and asked for a visa extension. And well, at first she said, well, it's not possible. You got to go to Guatemala for 72 hours and then come back. And then you get another 180 days. And I said, oh, okay, really? And then she said, well, you can pay a fine of about
Choice of
$50 each. So yeah, well, I said, okay, well, I'm interested in that. So we paid $150 for all of us, and then we were able to apply for a new visa. And then, of course, it took a little longer with the truck for the tip again. They had to do the whole spiel, the whole game with, you know, the excessive weight and everything, the customs. And, you know, it's a little bit nerve-wracking, of course, every time.
Yeah, it took a lot longer this time.
Yeah,
like
they were
4
quite
hours.
thorough, and it took about 4 hours all in all. But eventually, we got it granted. We have all the paperwork, and perfect. Yeah, there was just one little mishap this time. Yeah, the the officers couldn't find the plaque on the camper because the former owner of the camper spray painted the whole camper in silver, and yeah, didn't really. I sprayed over the plaque with all the numbers, and yeah, so I had to scrape off the paint, and you know, not to damage all the numbers underneath on the sticker. That was nerve-wracking, man. I don't know what would have happened if I would have, you know, ruined all the letters. So, well, anyway,
He did a very good job.
yeah, an hour later, sweating like crazy in this heat. But we got it done, and yeah, here we are. We'll stick around for a little longer until the Corona crisis is, yeah, a little more in the past. Hopefully,
Mexico is pretty much the one place on earth which is still open.
Very grateful. Thank you very much, Mexico. You kept us free, and yeah, it's a beautiful country, and yeah, they're not locking down.
No.
Yeah. Yeah,
we
I love
can
it.
still go visit these wonderful waterfalls.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's great. Yeah,
Keeps
so
us on the road.
keeps us on the road. So I guess season 2, Mexico, is gonna continue for a little while, and yeah.
But it's so big. We
It's
have
beautiful.
so much to see.
Oh, there's so
Way
much to
more ruins
Yeah.
and monkeys. And
Yeah, we're in the south now, so it gets a little jungly. But we're gonna go to see what's it called, Bonampak, the ruins, temples, Mayan temples, I think, and we're gonna go to Palenque. So that's coming up in the next few days for us, and in the next video we're gonna show you our way down to Oaxaca. All right.
you go.
Well, thank you so much for watching. And if you want to support us, just hit the likes button, comment, and subscribe to our channel.
yeah. And don't forget we have a website.
And we have a website
See
too
the
that
name here.
we keep updated too with posts. And if you want to dive deeper into what we're up to in the past few months, and yeah, I guess that's about it.
And Instagram with
Too.
Richie's wonderful photography.
Thank you so much for watching, and meet you around the world.
Around the world.
Bye.
Bye. Say bye-bye, Zoe.
Say ciao. Ciao.
Mouthful of Cornish pasties.
Oh, it's really good.
It is. Well done.